me, self-love is giving yourself permission to love who you are the way you are. And I think like that's something that a lot of people still don't really understand or don't really practice, because the way that the world works today, we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, people in media, people on social media, and then even just the people around you. Like I know within my family, we're constantly being compared to our cousins or, the friends that we keep in our circles. And that can really play a lot of negative, like it has a huge negative impact on my mental health and on people's mental health in general. But at some point we need to stop and say, like, I am enough, and I am, like, what I do, what I offer, what I enjoy doing is enough for who I am. And my general philosophy is, as long as you're not hurting anybody with the things that you're doing, you should keep doing them. And when that comes to the way that I look in particular, that's something that I've always struggled with weight issues, and it's taken a long time for me to get to a point where I accept help when I need it, for helping me get control of those weight issues. But more importantly, allowing myself to still be who I want to be despite those weight issues. And I've always loved and enjoyed doing things that you wouldn't normally see a person my size doing, which is scuba diving or quad biking or hiking. And I mean, the fact that I'm a girl usually means I don't do those things anyway, or people don't expect me to do them. So I think the self-love aspect there is just, it's giving myself permission to love me for me and let myself do the things I want to do whenever I want to. I was actually catching up with a friend last night, and she's had a crazy year with dealing with cancer treatment and a whole bunch of other things. And during that whole process, she's also gained and lost a lot of weight too. And we were talking about this in particular, where I personally spent 2021 focusing on my mental health. And until I was able to deal with that mental health, and for her, the same issue, right? Going through this entire cancer treatment, until you're able to deal with the mental health side of things, whatever you're trying to do on top of that, even if it makes you feel good in the moment, it's not going to be long-term sustainable. And so for her, it was a lot of she it was a lot of her trying to regain control of her life after going through such a rigorous treatment plan. And unless she was mentally able to go through it, the physical would have taken so much longer. For myself, I spent most of 2021 really focusing on what things give me joy, what things make me feel good, and then also extremely important, what things make me feel bad. And unfortunately, to some extent, what people make me feel bad, and have effectively cut a lot of those things out of my life now, or don't exert energy into bringing them into my life. And now 2022 has really been my year to focus on my physical health. And because I'm not dealing with all those like mental demons in the background, for example, like the that sort of like unspoken, oh, my friends are all meeting and I'm not invited kind of thing. Like that still happens to us as adults as well. It's not just for kids. Because I spent so much time in 2021 dealing with the mental health aspect of it, that's not going to make me sad in 2022. That's not going to make me go to the grocery store and buy a slice of cake or 10. And that helps me on the physical side too. And it's not one or the other. At the end of the day, it's all health, and we need to take care of all of it. But when you're just focusing on weight or your physical image, it's not going to solve the reasons that you got into that position in the first place. The other thing I wanted to add is, weight is such a subjective word. Like, they are some extremely large people that are able to do incredible miraculous things. They're still stunning, they're still beautiful, and they're able to live their best lives. And a lot of that does come from confidence that they're building, which again comes from the mental health aspects of it. And so if we're just comparing, if a person is just focusing on weight, then really they're just focusing on a number on a scale. And that isn't helping them in any way. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not helping them deal with whatever demons or whatever it is that brought them to a point where their weight got to a point that they're not happy anymore. I think for us as a society to get to a point where we allow self-love, it really just starts at home. It starts with us as people reminding ourselves about what we're good at and reminding ourselves about our own self-value and our self-worth, which is a really, really hard thing to do when you've got people in your life that are constantly saying the negatives or pointing out the things that aren't good or aren't going well. And then the other side of that is, if we're so aware about this, we should also be doing that to other people, not just ourselves. And something that I've been doing for years, and it had nothing to do with the self-love or any of these new things that I'm learning about today, but it's just something I've always done as a person, is if I meet a person, if I meet a friend, someone I know really well, or a total stranger, it doesn't matter to me, and I see something nice or happy or joyous about them, or I see an outfit that I really like, compliment them. And so a lot of these self-help books don't really work because we're not necessarily at a point where mentally we can actually act on or absorb what the practices that they're talking about in those books are. I'm not saying they don't work ever. It's just you need to be in the right state when you're reading them. The two ways that I've been expressing self love for myself over the last few years, I've been doing something called Project 365 on Instagram, where I post a photo every single day on Instagram. And it's my way of reflecting at the end of the day about the things I did and what did I enjoy, and did I make a mistake somewhere, or did something not go the way I wanted it to, and how can I correct that? But more importantly, it's that photo that I can post on Instagram and Facebook and wherever else it goes out to. And it's actually just become this insane library of over 2,000 photos that I can just scroll through on a day where I'm not feeling my best. And there's just so many positive memories associated to it. So that's one way that I personally practice self-love. The other is tracking my achievements. So obviously, and I don't want to make this fully a hype docs pitch, but that concept of tracking my achievements, because whether it's a small thing or a big thing, like, I'm not great in the kitchen. I'm happy to admit that. If I'm able to bake a cake without burning my arm or like burning something else in the kitchen, I'm really proud of that. And then on the flip side of that, if I'm able to get a new customer onto my business, or if I'm able to get a new level of scuba diving certification, like, those are bigger achievements and they're still really important. I've been on social media for over 10 years now. I don't want to age myself too much. I think probably 15 years at this point. Um, this is a conversation that comes up in the tech community often. And I think social media is a tool. And as a tool, it depends on the person using it, on if it's something positive or negative in their lives. And by that, it comes down to that curation aspect you're talking about, in terms of, who am I following? And are these people that give me joy, or are these people, accounts, whatever? Or are these people and accounts that make me constantly doubt myself or make me compare myself to them? And I think in the past, there's been a lot of that sort of, you have to have a model perfect figure body. And that's what all of the social media ads were doing. That's what all the media or the businesses that had ad campaigns that were then promoting them through social media were doing. And it's been really amazing in the last year or 2 years, especially, to see all this talk about mental health, body positivity, the Me Too movement, especially because I'm a woman of color and an immigrant to Canada. It's just been amazing to see that those conversations are starting to take place and starting to have a bigger impact on what it means for these media companies to create ads and to create content for social media. What we as society have gone through in the last 2.5 years with COVID, what we're going to go through in the next, however many years with this upcoming recession, with the ability to talk more about mental health, with the tools that we use today, whether it's social media or, even just apps that get you connected to other people, there's more space for us to have these conversations. And I think that to me is really exciting. So imposter syndrome is this concept where you believe that you're an imposter. So in your role, your job, within your family, within whatever context you're in, you don't feel like you've earned it. You don't feel like you belong there. You feel like someone one day is going to realize that you shouldn't be there and kick you out. Through the Hype Docs mission, one of the big things that we're trying to do as we work with companies is talk about ways to improve that communication between managers and employees, so that, let's say in 6 months I'm looking for promotion and one of my goals is to launch 10 new products in that time, I can actually track all of that within the goals that I've set with my manager. And every hype that I have or every win that I have, for example, launching a feature is something that I'm able to track. At that 6 month mark, I can show my manager and be like, hey, I've done the work. I know my value because I have this massive list of things that I followed. And you said this is what I needed to earn a promotion. It's time for that promotion. And I think the biggest change that that's had with all the people I've spoken to about it, especially the marginalized groups of women I've spoken to about it, is after that 6 month period, if you don't get a good enough or sufficient enough reason for why you didn't get a promotion, then it's you have learned your value in that company and you know it's time to make a change. And that's where it impacts the company into realizing they can't keep messing around with people in the same way.